Maryam stood alone beneath the tall date palm tree, her body weak, her heart trembling with fear and pain. The desert wind blew softly around her, whispering secrets of a miracle that was about to change the world forever. In her arms lay a tiny baby, her son, Issa, known to the world as Jesus. She had just given birth, all by herself, far away from anyone who could help. Tears streamed down her face, not just from the pain of childbirth, but from the fear of what awaited her when she returned to her people. "How will I face them?" she whispered. "They will not believe me. They will call me names. They will say terrible things." The baby stirred, his little face calm and peaceful, as if he already knew the storm that was coming. And then something unbelievable happened. The newborn baby, still wrapped in a small cloth, spoke. "Do not be sad, mother," the baby Issa said, his voice soft yet strong. "Allah has made a stream flow beneath you. Eat from the dates, drink from the water, and be comforted." Maryam's eyes widened in shock. Her newborn son, speaking like a grown man, her tears stopped, replaced by awe and wonder. The baby had spoken by the will of Allah. But little did Maryam know, this was only the beginning of her greatest test. For soon, she would have to face her people. And when she returned carrying her baby, every eye would turn to her, and every voice would rise against her. Now, let us go back, before this great moment, before the miracle under the palm tree, to when everything first began. Long before the miracle birth of Isa, there was a young woman named Maryam. She was pure, kind, and deeply devoted to Allah. She lived a life of worship in the holy temple, spending her days in prayer and fasting. Everyone admired her for her goodness, and she was raised under the care of Prophet Zachariah, a righteous man who loved her like his own daughter. Every time Prophet Zachariah entered her room, he would find food there, fresh fruits that were not even in season. Astonished, he once asked her, "Maryam, where did you get this food?" She smiled gently and replied, "It is from Allah. Truly, Allah provides for whom He wills without measure." From that day, Zachariah knew she was special, chosen for something far beyond human understanding. Years passed peacefully until one quiet day, when Maryam was alone in her room, praying. Suddenly, a bright light filled the air, and before her stood a man, or at least he looked like one. She trembled in fear, thinking someone had entered her sacred place. "Stay away from me," she cried. "I seek protection from the most merciful if you fear Allah." The man spoke gently, "Do not be afraid, Maryam. I am only a messenger from your Lord, to give you the glad news of a pure son." Maryam gasped. "How can I have a son?" she said, "when no man has ever touched me and I am not married?" The angel smiled. "It is easy for Allah. When He decides a matter, He only says, 'Be,' and it is." And in that moment, the angel's words came true. The miracle had begun. But when Maryam felt the baby growing inside her, fear began to fill her heart. She left her home quietly, going far away to a lonely place in the desert. Days turned into weeks, and the time for her baby to be born drew near. There was no one with her, no mother, no midwife, no friend. Only the endless sand and the burning sun. Pain overcame her, and she cried out in despair. "Oh, if only I had died before this, and been forgotten." But Allah never leaves those who trust in Him. From the earth beneath her, a small stream burst forth. The dry palm tree above her gave ripe dates. And then, by Allah's will, she gave birth to her son, Isa, Jesus. She held him close, her heart pounding with both love and fear. She knew what awaited her when she returned to her people. They would question her. They would accuse her. And no one would believe what had truly happened. Still, she heard a voice in her heart telling her, "Say nothing when they question you. Point to the baby." So Maryam, trembling yet trusting, began her journey back home, carrying her newborn son. The people saw her coming. Their eyes widened. Their whispers grew louder and louder until they surrounded her, shouting, "Maryam, what have you done? You come with a child, and you were never married. Your father was not a bad man. Nor was your mother unchaste. Maryam said nothing. She only pointed to her baby. The crowd laughed. How can we speak to a baby in the cradle? Then, to everyone's shock, the baby Issa spoke. I am the servant of Allah, he said clearly. He has given me the book and made me a prophet. He has made me blessed wherever I may be, and he has commanded me to pray and give charity as long as I live. The people gasped and fell silent. The baby's words echoed in their hearts. It was a miracle they could not deny, and that was how the story of Maryam and her son, Issa, began, with a miracle that shook the world. But this miracle, as beautiful as it was, also brought danger, jealousy, and tests greater than anyone could imagine. The people of Maryam's town stood frozen, their mouths open in shock. Never before had they seen a newborn baby speak, let alone one who spoke with wisdom and calm like a prophet. Some fell to their knees in awe. Others whispered among themselves, unable to believe what they had just witnessed. But not everyone was ready to accept the truth. This is impossible, one man said, shaking his head. No baby can speak. She must have done something to deceive us. Another replied, but we all heard it. The baby spoke about Allah, and so the people were divided. Some believed Maryam was blessed by Allah, chosen for a miracle. Others thought it was all a trick. The whispers spread from house to house, from market to market, until everyone in the town was talking about Maryam and her son, Issa. Maryam, however, did not argue or try to prove anything. She stayed silent, just as Allah had told her. Deep in her heart, she knew the truth. Her son was a sign from Allah, a miracle given to guide people back to the straight path. As days turned into months, little Issa grew quickly. He was no ordinary child. From a very young age, he showed kindness, wisdom, and gentleness beyond his years. When other children played and argued, Issa would sit quietly under the trees, watching the sky. He often spoke of Allah and his greatness, saying things that amazed even the adults. One day, as Maryam and Issa walked through the village, they passed a group of men who were mocking them. Look, one sneered. There goes Maryam and her so-called miracle child. Maryam kept her head low, holding Issa's hand tightly. But before they could go far, one of the men threw a small stone that hit the ground near Issa's feet. Issa turned to them, his young eyes filled not with anger, but with sadness. Do not harm those who have done you no wrong, he said softly. Fear Allah, for he sees what you do. The men froze. His voice was calm, yet it pierced their hearts like thunder. Slowly, they lowered their heads and walked away in silence. Maryam looked at her son with tears in her eyes. My dear Issa, she whispered, you were sent as mercy to this world. And indeed, Allah blessed Issa with many miracles as he grew. By Allah's permission, he could heal the sick, make the blind see, and even bring the dead back to life. But these miracles were not for fame or pride. They were signs to remind people that Allah alone had the power to give life and take it away. However, with miracles came danger. The leaders of the town, especially the proud and powerful ones, grew jealous of Issa. They feared losing their control over the people. If everyone followed this young prophet, who would listen to them anymore? Who would respect their authority? So they began to plot against him. One day, as Issa was teaching a group of people about the mercy of Allah, a group of angry men arrived. They shouted at him, calling him a liar and a magician. The crowd grew restless. Some people defended Issa, while others joined the men in mocking him. Maryam, standing nearby, felt her heart race. She wanted to protect her son, but she knew he was under Allah's care. Issa raised his hand and said, O my people, why do you harm me when I bring you truth from your Lord? Allah is my witness, and he knows what you do. But his words only made the leaders angrier. They began to plan secretly, whispering to each other that Issa must be stopped. They couldn't allow him to keep performing miracles and gaining followers. That night, Maryam could not sleep. She watched her son praying under the moonlight, his small face glowing with peace. Mother, he said softly when he noticed her watching, do not fear. No harm can touch me unless Allah wills it. And Allah's plan is always good. Maryam smiled weakly, though her heart ached with worry. She knew her son spoke the truth, but she was still a mother, and every mother fears for her child. Days later, an event took place that would shake the land once again. It was morning when Issa walked into the marketplace. The people had gathered, talking loudly about a boy who had died the night before, the son of a poor widow who lived nearby. The mother was weeping, surrounded by mourners. When Issa saw her tears, his heart filled with compassion. He approached her and said, "Do not cry. Believe in Allah's mercy." The crowd watched closely as he knelt beside the lifeless boy. He placed his small hand on the child's chest and whispered a prayer to Allah. The air grew still. The mother held her breath. Then the boy's chest rose. His eyes opened. He sat up. The people gasped in disbelief. Some screamed. Others fell to their knees. The mother hugged her son, crying tears of joy. "It is a miracle," she shouted. "By Allah's power, the boy lives." But not everyone rejoiced. Hidden among the crowd, the jealous leaders watched with dark eyes. They whispered angrily, "This must stop. This boy is too powerful. If we don't act soon, everyone will follow him." And from that day, they began to plot Issa's downfall more seriously. The miracles of Issa had turned hearts toward Allah, but they had also lit a fire of hatred among the proud. And that fire was about to grow even more dangerous. The sun had barely risen over the hills when Maryam woke to the sound of knocking at their door. Her heart pounded as she looked around for Issa. He was kneeling in prayer, calm as always, his face lit by the golden glow of dawn. The knocking grew louder. "Open up!" shouted a voice from outside. "We know he's here." Maryam's hands trembled. "Issa," she whispered. "They've come for you." Issa stood slowly, peace still on his face. "Mother," he said gently, "do not be afraid. Allah is with us." Outside, the leaders had gathered with soldiers and angry townspeople. They were furious, saying Issa had disrespected their laws and traditions. Some even said he was trying to make himself greater than the prophets before him. Lies spread quickly, twisting the truth into something ugly. When Maryam opened the door, they stormed in. "Where is your son?" one of them demanded. Issa stepped forward bravely. "I am here. Why do you come with anger when I have brought only peace?" The leader scowled. "Peace?" he spat. "You've fooled the people with tricks and false miracles. You've made them question us. They're teachers. You've turned them away." "I have only called them to worship Allah," Issa replied, "the one who created you and me." But they refused to listen. Their hearts were hard with jealousy. One of them shouted, "Seize him!" Before they could reach him, Issa raised his hands and prayed silently. A bright light surrounded him, so strong that everyone shielded their eyes. When they looked again, he was gone. Maryam gasped, her eyes wide with awe and tears. "Subhanallah! Allah has protected him." The soldiers searched the entire house, but Issa was nowhere to be found. They were confused and frightened. Some whispered, "Could it be true? Could he really be a prophet?" But their leader shouted, "No, this is trickery. Find him." Meanwhile, far away in the hills, Issa stood alone beneath the shade of a tree. He looked down at the village, his heart heavy. He knew his mission was not yet complete. He had to keep spreading Allah's message of faith, mercy, and truth. For many days, he traveled from village to village, healing the sick and guiding the lost. Wherever he went, people gathered to listen. The poor and the weak loved him, for he treated them with kindness and never asked for riches or praise. He only said, "Worship Allah, the one and only, and be good to one another." But with every new follower, the leaders grew angrier. Their jealousy burned like fire. They began to tell lies about him, saying he used evil magic, saying he wanted to destroy their religion. One cold night, they met in secret, their faces hidden in the shadows. "We must end this," said one of them. "If we don't, soon every person will follow him." "But how?" another asked. He disappears whenever we try to catch him. The leader leaned forward, his eyes narrow. Then we'll find someone close to him, someone who can lead us to him. And so they began to search for one of Issa's followers who would betray him. Back in the hills, Issa was surrounded by his true followers, those who believed deeply in Allah's message. They listened as he spoke about the day of judgment, about heaven and hell, and about the mercy of Allah. One of the men sitting near the back was silent, his face dark with thoughts he didn't share. His name was not known to many, but he had grown jealous of the love and trust Issa received from everyone. That jealousy began to eat at his heart like poison. That very night, when everyone slept, the man sneaked away. He met with the leaders and said, "If I tell you where Issa is, what will you give me?" The leader smirked. "We will reward you with silver, gold, and safety. Just show us where he hides." The man hesitated, then nodded. "It is done." The next day, Issa gathered his followers and spoke softly. "One among you has chosen the path of darkness, but fear not. Whatever happens, Allah's plan will be fulfilled." The followers looked around at each other, confused. Who could betray the prophet? They whispered. Maryam, who was there, felt her chest tighten with worry. She knew danger was close. That night, Issa prayed longer than ever before. The moonlight shone over him as he whispered, "O Allah, protect my people and guide them. Let not their hearts be filled with fear. Let your will be done." Suddenly, he heard footsteps approaching. The sound of many men, armed and angry, echoing in the darkness. Maryam, hearing the noise, ran toward her son. "Issa," she cried, "they're coming. They've found you." He turned to her with calm eyes. "Do not weep, mother. Whatever happens tonight is what Allah has written. His plan is greater than theirs." The shouts grew louder. The torches came closer. The traitor led the soldiers through the trees toward the house where Issa prayed. "Quickly," he whispered to them. "He is inside." The men surrounded the house. One of them kicked the door open and rushed in, and in that very moment, something beyond human understanding occurred. A great light filled the sky, so bright it turned night into day. The earth trembled beneath their feet. The soldiers covered their faces, shouting in fear. And when the light faded, Issa was gone. The man who had betrayed him looked around in horror, only to find that his own face was changing, his features twisting until he looked exactly like Issa. The soldiers, confused and frightened, seized him instead. "There! We've caught him!" they shouted. "We've caught Issa!" But he screamed, "No! It's not me! It's not!" Before he could finish, they dragged him away. And high above, unseen by any human eye, Allah had raised Issa up to safety, lifting him from this world until the time appointed for his return. Maryam fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face, whispering, "Alhamdulillah, my son is safe in Allah's care." The world below did not know the truth. They thought Issa was gone, forever. But in reality, he was alive, protected by Allah, waiting for the day he would return to complete his mission. Yet for Maryam, that night was both a miracle and heartbreak. She had lost her son's presence, but she had gained certainty in Allah's promise. And as dawn broke over the land, a new chapter began, one filled with faith, hope, and the whispers of a promise yet to be fulfilled. The dawn after that terrible night was heavy with silence. The streets were quiet, the air still. The people whispered among themselves, uncertain of what had truly happened. Some said Issa had been caught and killed. Others said he vanished before their eyes. But those who believed knew the truth. Allah had protected his prophet. Maryam sat alone under an old tree on the hill outside the town. The wind carried the scent of the desert, and the sky above glowed softly with morning light. Her heart ached for her son, yet deep inside she felt peace. She remembered his final words to her. "Do not weep, mother. Allah's plan is greater than theirs." As she sat there, she closed her eyes and whispered, "O Allah, I trust in you. You gave me my son in a miracle, and you took him in your wisdom. I am grateful, even through my tears. For many days, Maryam lived quietly, away from the noise of the people. She prayed often, fasting and remembering Allah's blessings. Some of Issa's followers came to visit her, seeking comfort and guidance. "Mother of the Prophet," one of them said softly, "we are lost without him. The people mock us. They say our prophet is gone forever." Maryam looked at them with calm eyes. "My son was sent with truth. Allah raised him up, and one day he will return. Hold on to your faith and do not be afraid." The men nodded, their hearts filled with new strength. They spread her words among the believers, and soon, even though Issa was no longer among them, his message grew stronger than ever before. But the jealous leaders, the same ones who had plotted against Issa, were still not satisfied. They wanted to erase every trace of him, his teachings, his followers, his miracles. They called meetings, ordered arrests, and tried to scare the people into forgetting him. Yet, no matter how hard they tried, they could not silence the truth. The more they punished the believers, the more people began to ask questions. "Why do they fear this man so much?" some said. "If he was a liar, why do his words still live in our hearts?" And so, the story of Issa continued to spread across the land. The story of the baby who spoke from his cradle, the young man who healed the sick, and the prophet who called people back to Allah with love and mercy. Years passed and Maryam grew older. Her hair turned white, her steps slower, but her faith never faded. She would often walk to the same hill where she last saw her son. There, she would sit quietly, watching the horizon, remembering every miracle, every smile, every word he had spoken. Sometimes, she would hear children playing nearby, calling each other by her son's name, "Issa, Issa," and she would smile. "His name lives on," she would whisper, "and so does his truth." One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of gold and red, Maryam sat beneath the same palm tree where she once gave birth to her son. The memory felt fresh, the pain, the miracle, and the voice of her baby telling her not to fear. Tears filled her eyes, but they were no longer tears of sadness. They were tears of gratitude. "Oh my Lord," she prayed softly, "you have been with me through every hardship. You showed me that faith can move hearts, and that patience can overcome sorrow. Let my story remind the world that you never abandon those who trust in you." That night, Maryam passed away peacefully, her heart filled with light. The people mourned her deeply, for she was beloved by all. They buried her gently in the earth, whispering prayers for her soul. And though many years have passed since then, her story, and the story of her son, Issa, continues to live on, shining through time like a lantern in the dark. Muslims believe that Issa was not killed or crucified, but raised up alive to Allah. And one day, before the end of time, he will return to earth, bringing justice, peace, and truth once again. He will destroy falsehood, unite believers, and remind the world that there is only one God, Allah, the most merciful. The story of Maryam and her son, Issa, is not just a tale of miracles. It is a story of faith, of patience, and of trust in Allah's plan. It teaches us that even when the world doubts us, Allah never leaves us. So whenever you feel alone, remember Maryam, the woman who stood strong when the whole world turned against her. And remember Issa, the child who spoke truth from his cradle, by Allah's will. Their story reminds us that miracles come to those who believe, that light always returns after darkness, and that Allah's promise never fails. And so ends the story of Maryam and her son, Issa, a story written not by man, but by the hand of destiny and the mercy of the Almighty.